The first time a deity says no to you, it doesn't feel like you imagined. It feels like silence, like you've been talking to yourself the whole time. And honestly, that's when the real work starts. Because here's the thing nobody wants to tell you. Gods aren't sitting around hoping someone finally lights the right candle. They're not checking their messages. They're not lonely. They're vast, occupied with their own nature, moving through cycles that were ancient before your grandparents were born. Your novelty doesn't register. The pop culture idea of calling a deity makes it sound like they'll drop everything and pick up, like you've got their direct line and they're just waiting by the phone. But that's not how ancient powers work. That's not how anything works when you're dealing with forces that predate language itself. You approach them. You show up. You make your offering. You speak your petition. You do the work. And then, maybe, they might notice. Might. That's the actual starting point, and it's uncomfortable because it puts all the effort on you. There's no guarantee of contact. No cosmic customer service line. No confirmation email. You're not entitled to their attention just because you bought the right incense or memorized their epithets. And that absence of guarantee, that's not a bug. That's the entire design. It teaches you humility before you even get to the threshold. It makes you mean it. Here's the thing nobody tells you. The gods don't want your crystals. They don't care about your expensive incense or how aesthetically perfect your altar looks on Instagram. What they want, what they've always wanted, is your attention. Your consistency. Your actual transformation. Offerings aren't payment for services rendered. They're not cosmic vending machine coins. They're relationship language. You're saying, I see you. I remember you exist beyond my needs. I'm here even when I'm not asking for anything. It's the difference between texting someone only when you need a favor versus checking in because they matter to you. The gods can tell the difference. They always could. And here's what really matters. The deities who stick around are the ones whose nature already resonates with the work you're doing in your life. Hecate doesn't show up because you bought a statue and lit a black candle. She shows up because you're standing at a crossroads, terrified, and you finally admit you don't know which way to go. Dionysus doesn't answer because you poured wine on the ground. He answers because you're learning to let yourself be ecstatic and uncontained, and that scares you as much as it thrills you. The work calls the god. The god doesn't call the work. If you're trying to force a connection with a deity whose energy has nothing to do with where you actually are, you're going to end up exhausted and talking to silence. So here's what actually works. Research isn't optional. You don't walk into someone's home and start rearranging their furniture, right? So why would you approach a deity without knowing their mythology, their epithets, what they've historically been honored for? This isn't about memorizing every hymn, it's about respect. It's about showing up informed. Read the stories. Learn the context. Understand what they've been called, what they've been given, what matters to them. You're not just Googling trivia. You're learning the language of relationship. And then, this is the part people skip. You start small and specific. A single prayer. One offering. Consistency over weeks before you ever ask for anything. You're building recognition, not demanding an audience. You're showing up like you mean it, like this matters, like you're willing to be patient. Because the gods aren't sitting around waiting for you specifically. They have their own concerns, their own vast attention spans that operate on scales we don't fully grasp. The approach that works is the one that treats them like what they are: powerful, particular beings with preferences and boundaries. Not cosmic vending machines. Not wish fulfillment engines. Not your personal spiritual customer service line. You approach with intention, with humility, with consistency. And you wait to see if they answer. Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Sometimes you call and the wrong thing answers. Not every presence that shows up when you're reaching out is the deity you named. You open a door expecting Apollo and something else walks through wearing his face. And that's genuinely dangerous. Not movie dangerous, real dangerous. The kind that can destabilize your energy, warp your perception, leave you feeling haunted in your own practice. If something feels off, if the energy doesn't match what you know about that deity, trust that instinct. Close it down. Start over. Deities can also withdraw. And it feels like abandonment, like you did something wrong, like you've been left in the dark. But often, and this is hard to hear, it's because you're not listening. Or you've mistaken intensity for connection. You wanted the rush, the confirmation, the signs, but you didn't want the work. You didn't want to sit with the uncomfortable truth they were showing you. So they step back. Not as punishment, as boundary. But here's the worst case, honestly. It's not divine wrath. It's not getting cursed or losing favor. The worst case is you building an entire practice on your own projections and never actually encountering the God at all. You're just talking to a mirror, performing for yourself. And you can do that for years, decades even, convinced you're in relationship when really you're just elaborating on your own ego. That's the real danger. Not the gods. You. Here's what nobody tells you. It's not constant visions and ecstatic possession. It's not lightning bolts every Tuesday. A real relationship with a deity is a felt presence over time, this quiet sense of being seen by something larger than yourself. You'll catch yourself in moments where the pattern lines up too perfectly to be coincidence. The right book falls open to the right page. A stranger says the exact thing you needed to hear. The weather shifts just as you finish your offering. You start noticing their symbols everywhere. Their themes suddenly running through your life like a thread you can't unsee. It's like they're leaving breadcrumbs, not because they're micromanaging you or turning you into a puppet, but because you've tuned yourself to their frequency. You're picking up the signal now. What was always there becomes impossible to miss. And here's the part that matters most. Real relationships with deities change you. You become sharper, stranger, more aligned with their domain in ways you can't fake or perform. If you're working with a war god, you'll stop tolerating disrespect. If it's a love goddess, your boundaries get clearer and your presence gets magnetic. People around you will notice even if they don't know why. They'll say you seem different. More yourself, but more. That's what this actually looks like. Not fireworks. Transformation. Here's what nobody tells you. Deity work isn't a sprint. It's not some spiritual achievement you unlock after reading 3 books and lighting the right candles. This is devotional practice that deepens over years. Decades. Even. Lifetimes, if you believe in that sort of continuity. You're going to have dry periods where the connection feels distant, where the signs stop coming, where you wonder if you imagined the whole thing. That's normal. The gods don't perform on demand. They're not your personal hotline to the numinous. Silence is part of the teaching, sometimes the most important part. It forces you to stand on your own, to develop discernment, to stop reaching for validation every 5 minutes. The point of all this isn't to serve them like some cosmic subordinate. It's not to collect deities like trophies on a shelf, either. The point is to let their presence refine you, to become someone capable of holding more mystery, more power, more truth than you could before. You're not collecting gods like rare vinyl. You're becoming someone worth their attention, and that changes everything, including you. Follow Blackfire Atelier. I'll see you in the shadows.